the NCAA in the room, and they thought that there could be a possible avenue where something like this could happen. And we were talking about for every school in America to play an extra exhibition or do something to be able to send funds to those that are in need. And the NCAA, which I totally understand in a short amount of time, you can't just make a blanket deal because who knows who will use it for a competitive advantage or financial advantage. And so they're doing it case by case and presenting waivers to those that have come up with the right ways to do something for others. And my whole thinking when I call Kwanzaa, it didn't have anything to do with us wanting to play Mizzou. It had everything to do with how can we send the most money to those victims. And there was no doubt, no disrespect to Washburn, but I think the Missouri game will probably draw a little bit more interest and be able to create some more funds.
What will people see there? What kind of game will it be? It's an exhibition, just a regular game. What sort of dollars do you think you'll be able to raise?
Certainly plan on north of $1 million. But I think they'll see just a regular game. Right. We'll have officials and we'll throw it up and guys will commit fouls and we'll shoot free throws. But it won't be any different than any other exhibition game. Kwanzaa and I talked about that. He won't have his stuff in, we won't have our stuff in, none of that stuff. But it'll still be good for it'll be good for the fans, probably to be able to see their young product. Obviously they got a lot to sell and those sorts of things, and I think it'll be good for our guys to do it. But that's not that's not why I have any interest in doing it. The only interest is because we have an opportunity through NCAA approval to do something for others that we wouldn't have had a chance to do at this level if we didn't play Mizzou.
Bill, when did you think of the idea? When did it pop into your head as, to raise money since you're the head of the NBC?
No, we discussed it at our August meetings. When we had our August meetings, I could be wrong on this, but the only hurricane that hit land at that time was Harvey, and Irma and Maria haven't. So we were talking about doing it for that catastrophic event, and since then we've obviously had 5 or 4 others, with Irma, Maria, and then of course with Las Vegas and the fires in California. So who knows what direction people will want to take to do different things, but we chose hurricane relief.
And not to dwell on this, Coach, but of course, social media blew up yesterday with the talk of MUKU playing this game. Talk about the fans. I know you're doing it for charity, but again, the fans, there's the build up for it, the anticipation. They've waited for this for a long period of time. I know this, they have the Michael Porter kid out at MU. They want to see, these two teams play each other. I know it's for charity. I know it's an exhibition, but for the fans, how big is this game for them?
I would say it's not that big for a fan standpoint. I mean, this is not a regular season game. You don't have your stuff in, that kind of standpoint. But there is enough interest that you can put 19,000 people in a building. That's the reason why we're doing it. And that's the sole reason why.
Bill, would you have done this? I hear you about Mizzou. This has nothing to do with wanting to play them in the future. But would you have done this if they didn't have Porter? If there wasn't, some interest around that program?
Well, we would have tried to do whatever we could to raise as much money as we can. So I still think
a game with.
Yeah, I still think a game with them would have been good.
Okay.
I don't think there's anybody else. When you start thinking about it, okay, there can be no expenses or very few expenses. Well, how many people are in your area that you can have very little expenses? I mean, you're very limited on what you can do. So yeah, that was a no-brainer for me.
Do you think this could open up discussions for the future?
I guess you could always say open up, but I haven't changed how I feel about that at all. And who knows what will happen in the future? But this does not have any. The thing about it is, and from my perspective, and we talked about it as a staff, could we get hit by some saying, well, you play us in an exhibition, why don't you play us in a regular season game or whatever? It doesn't have anything to do with that. It has something to do with how can we raise money to send to others. And to me, that trumped everything else that we could possibly do. So that's how I'm seeing that. And That's how I think they're looking at it too. Kwanzaa and I talked about that.
Have you sensed your players have the same passion for helping all these people that have been hit with tragedy over the last couple months? Do you sense their drive to want to help people too through this?
I would like to say yes, but they didn't know. Somebody across state lines leaked it yesterday, so they didn't even know about it. They found about it. Our players found out about it by as he said, by reading about it on social media. So it was leaked before it was approved. And so I hadn't told our guys. I wasn't going to tell them until today, but obviously we did yesterday.
How much do these guys know about kind of what that rivalry really was?
None of them played in it. Yeah, they don't know. They don't know. They'll get excited because I'm sure there'll be enough people around here that will get them excited to play in the game, just like their people will too. But we don't talk about that as a group. But I'm sure there'll be some things mentioned between now and then. But that's our focus, and I'm sure their focus too, is getting their team ready for the season. But this is a good opportunity to help prepare your team for the season because you'll see some different things.
Yeah, to that end, I mean that's a bonus, right?
Yeah.
I mean better than what normal exhibition competition is.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I can't believe it's not a bonus. Getting a chance to do that. I don't see any potential negatives in that. I don't see how it can't help your team. But even with that being said, we all want to do things. The byproduct of playing the game is it could possibly help both teams. The actual reason why we're playing it doesn't have anything to do with that, though.
Could you see this kind of being a template for future schools for other charitable games and kind of? Possibly.
That would be an NCAA question, but I do think it could be. We're not going to be the only ones to do it now. But I think we'll probably be the most publicized one to start it off.
Coach, strictly your team progress report on where you think you are now as you prepare for the season.
I think that Al, I think we're obviously pretty good shape on the perimeter. I love our guards. I think we got 5 good guards. We're thin inside and we're young and we don't know what we're doing yet inside, but I do think potential that can come around. But I like our talent. I'm not sure we have the 4th pick in the draft of the National Player of the Year, but we do have some guys I think that are good college players that will, if things go well, they'll have a chance to play at the next level. But right now we're a long ways away. We're only practicing a week, but certainly. Attitudes are good and they're trying hard and we're relatively healthy. So there's a lot of good things.
You've always liked to get easy buckets, and Frank and Josh just kind of driving it. Happened, did that last year. How is this team going to get easy buckets? Do you see, and kind of how's it come along in practice?
That's actually a good question because last year we got easy buckets because we didn't score the ball inside. This year we got a guy that can score the ball inside. So hopefully we can get some by creating angles for Doak. But I still think we got guards, primarily Devontae and LeGerald that can get the ball downhill, but not like Frank could. I mean, we were spoiled last year watching him. But there's some things that Devontae can do that's different than Frank, that may be better than Frank in some ways. But certainly we're going to miss those two, and you also are going to miss arguably as good a post defender as there was in the country. Landon wasn't a great scorer, but he's a great 5-man and could defend just about anybody else's big.
What are expectations for you, Doak, and those at all affected by what Little League was able to play last year?
I think last year hurt him. Kevin set him back quite a bit because he was just so young and didn't know the game, and so he didn't get a chance to get a lot better because he missed those 6 months. But I have expectations for him to be an all-league type performer this year. I think he can be. And he's certainly got to get in better shape, even though he's in good shape, but he's got to get in great shape because he'll foul, every possession or every other possession right now. But he can run, he can jump, he can, he should be able to defend his position, and he can certainly score in tight. But he's a very raw player right now, and we saw that last year. If he got it within 2 feet, he was pretty good. But he's improved in other areas, and I think he's ready to take the next step to becoming a very good offensive player.
A lot of times he'll be surrounded by 4 good shooters.
Yeah, hopefully.
Which has
really high ceiling for scoring for you, but how does he have to get better as a scorer and a passer for that?
Well, he's probably a better scorer than he is passer right now. And if you've watched him, you probably know that. But he's really improved in that area. At least last year, he's a better scorer than passer. He wasn't a prolific scorer, but he's become a better passer and certainly a better scorer. And the thing about it is, if like you're saying, if you just look at it in theory, if you have LeGerald Spee, Malik and Devontae around him, there's not going to be a lot of help that's been able to be offered because those guys can all knock it down. So you would hope that isolating him on the post, which would make him look like a much better scorer than if teams can run and double him.
Coach, when Billy's playing the way he's capable of, I don't know if there's 5 better freshmen. How important is he to you guys this year, and how big is his consistency with him right now?
I think that his most consistent thing that he does is that he's inconsistent. I mean, he'll have one great day and then one day that's not quite as good. But he's actually gaining on it. I mean, it's not from an attitude or effort standpoint. It's just sometimes the motor doesn't always run like it should. So and a lot of people equate that to effort. I equate it more to habits. And I think that he could be one of the better freshmen we had from a talent standpoint if he's at that peak ceiling where the motor runs and he's playing to his athleticism and playing inside out rather than just playing outside. There's a lot of things that he needs to improve on, but certainly you can't deny his talent. He's a very talented kid.
Regardless, it's been about 3 weeks since all this federal investigation stuff first hit. You know Jim Gatto well. You've known him for a while. Have you had a chance to talk to him? And are you surprised that his name got mixed up in all this stuff?
Well, I do know Jim. We've been with Adidas for 10 years or whatever, so you know most of those guys within the company. But it was very disappointing and disheartening, and obviously a dark cloud for our profession and everything. But to answer your question, no, I've had zero contact, zero.
Is the allegations with a possible 6-figure payment from Adidas and whatever sources to get someone to go to the school, does that surprise you that those things are out there?
That surprises me. Yeah, that does surprise me. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. What's not surprising is third parties' involvement through recruiting. Everybody should know that. That's prevalent everywhere.
What can you do about that?
I'm not sure. Well, it hadn't been illegal. I mean, people can assume that certain things. There's nothing illegal about agents talking to kids and their families. There's nothing illegal in 9th or 10th grade. There's nothing illegal the way the rules are today. There's nothing illegal about shoe companies funding AAU programs. There's none of that. That's what's been encouraged, and that's what's been done, and that's what's been said legal. So I don't think it shouldn't come as total surprise that you could have influence coming from third parties when those things are prevalent. So obviously the things that were reported were to answer your question, what can be done? I think we have to maybe take it, look at it from really 30,000 feet and said, well, what can not only what can be done, but what do we want to accomplish with this? People say they have all the answers, and well, let's just pay players, or let's allow agents to sign with agents, or let's let them go out of high school, or let's put in the baseball rule, or let's pay them for their likeness and image, and all these things. These things all sound very simple in theory, which I'm not saying some of them or all of them couldn't work, but this has to be a long, vetted out process to determine what we want amateurism to be. So the Olympics made a lot of changes, decades ago, but recent memory for most of us, when no pros could participate in the Olympics. Isn't that right? And now professional athletes can participate in the Olympics and things like that. So I don't know how the college landscape will change, but I think it'll change not only for basketball but for everybody.
Do you, from knowing Jim Gatto, I don't know if you know Milk Coat or not, another one of the names from the shoe company in there, from knowing these guys, do you think that there's a fear out there that when whistleblowers start going, there'll be people turn over on other schools and things like that? Knowing what you know about him, is he someone who would? I'm not going to get into that because I've never ever visited with him,
in regards to anything that would be remotely associated with how he would react in a situation like this. Nothing. I can't answer that question at all.
Coach, just in your opinion, I mean, just hearing all this and just listening to what you're saying, the conversation has been said that it needs to be had, and we've been doing this for a number of years. Is it time for athletes at the college level, at least basketball and football, to start getting paid or getting some sort of...
Now, see, that's a great point. But do you think that'll hold up in the court of law that those are the only two sports where athletes can get paid? So there's all kinds of things that have to be thought out. This is bigger than us just coming up with ideas. It's us coming up with ideas that will also be able to withhold all the headwind that's going to be coming towards it. And those aren't questions I can answer. You should ask NCAA legal counsel on those sorts of things. But do I think it needs to be fixed and changed? Absolutely. And hopefully what has transpired will definitely create some positive things moving forward that would be better for not only our sport, but better for all, collegiate athletics moving forward.
And Bill, with Davis in the news off the court, has that affected you guys in recruiting, and are you concerned at all with your relationship with them moving forward?
I would say that I don't know that it's affected us. I know that there is whenever in recruiting that there could be something out there that has been reported, whether it's reliable, unreliable, total myth, whatever. There's usually competitors that will make sure that information gets to people. I mean, that's how, unfortunately, that's how it works. And you can say that's negative recruiting. I'm not sure if it's reported and you forward an article. I'm not sure that's negative recruiting. I think that's but a lot of times the things that are reported are so inaccurate that it puts you on the defense. And I would be lying if I wouldn't have to tell you that we have addressed these issues with everyone that we're recruiting. And has it hurt us to date? No, I don't think it has. But I don't know. It's not signing date yet either. I know that we spent plenty of time making sure we explained, the position of what's transpired so far based on what we know. But as of this point, I don't think it's been a big deterrent.
The new Adidas contract's not quite official yet. Are you confident in that moving forward and sticking with that?
Well, you'd have to ask my superiors that. I mean, that would probably be Shan or maybe our chancellor even involved with that. So I don't know anything about the contract moving forward or the dates or if it's signed yet. I really don't know that.
There was a Freedom of Information request from a paper to try to get stuff, and the FBI sent a letter back to them. Have you seen that letter? And what is your assurance level that you guys don't have any issues, your fans aren't going to worry about it?
Well, I don't think that we do. I mean, I don't think that we do. But if I could be mistaken on this. Okay, so bear with me on this. What was reported was accurate, but it was incomplete. Because if I'm not mistaken, the Kansas City Star and the Journal World ran something right after that said that would have been our standard answer if anybody from any school would have FOI'd the FBI regarding anything going on with this investigation. If that's the fact, which I believe it is based on the way it's been reported, it certainly wasn't part of the initial, bang. So when Bleacher Report or Yahoo or ESPN get it, they don't get the full thing; they get the partial thing, and that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. So that could put you potentially on the defensive on recruiting, saying, well, "Let me send you the full scope of the article as opposed to the partial one." And based on what I have been told and what I have seen, is it was very clear that it was a standard answer that would be responded to by anybody that would have questions about any school that FOI that could potentially be having any type of not involvement, but any type of connection in what way, shape, or form with what the FBI is trying to do. That's the way it was explained to me. That's the way I understood it. So I don't think our fans at this point in time have anything to worry about. I'm much more concerned about our sport than I am Kansas.
theoretically, I guess if you look at this from 30,000 feet, a shoe company could do this without a school even knowing. To try to pay a kid some money. You wouldn't think it could happen, but it could. Is there fears out there that there are other things happening that you guys wouldn't know about?
Well, I would say that fears may not be the right word, but I think there's obviously there's things going on in recruiting that a lot of times coaches would not know about. Because you don't know what agents and families talk about when they meet. You don't know about that stuff. So you'd like to know as much as possible, but I think that would probably be impossible to know every little thing. So would that be concerns? Yeah, that would be concerns for anybody. I would say that there could be some things out there that's gone on in recruiting that doesn't involve just the school and the family and the recruit. But I'm not saying that's prevalent. I don't believe it is, but who knows? I guess it could be the case.
Are you encouraged by the commission that the NCAA formed this week?
I am. I don't see. First of all, I thought in a short amount of time, because the NCAA was probably I don't want to say blindsided, but I'm not sure they're aware of everything that was going on. Because I think the indictments that were passed down 3 weeks ago, basically surprised everybody. Based on what I know, of course I'm not in the know, but I do think that's a positive step, that we have to do something and to evaluate where we are and where we want to go, because I think the model, the way we see it now, will not exist in the near future. It may be tweaks, but I also think there could potentially be some major changes.
Coach, the 76ers coming to practice here yesterday. Did you talk to any of the players, specifically Joel Embiid, by chance, and what was said, if so?
Yeah, we talked to Joe. He did play here, so we're going to talk to him. I was really impressed with their practice, and our players came and watched it too. The thing that impressed me the most, these guys are pros, and there's some guys fighting to make the team. And Joe wasn't the only one here that we knew, obviously. I mean, we know a lot of them, but Jacob Pullen, obviously is on the team right now as well. But what impressed me, arriving at 4 a.m., that they went as hard as they did at 1:30. That was impressive to me. But the one thing that stood out more, and you guys saw it that were here, that stood out more than anything, is that is a bad man. That we knew was good back then, but he's taken it to a whole new level.
You mentioned yesterday too that he maybe didn't want to leave Kansas after his freshman year. Is that something that you had much say in, or would you prefer him to stay for longer?
I would have preferred for him to stay all 4 years. So no, Joe had to go. He had to go. But Joe was going through a phase. If you guys remember, he was hurt. He had hurt his back, didn't finish the season. He was emotional, and he loves it here. And he did express, I don't remember all the details, but he did express that he would like to return. But the reality of it is, that was not in his best interest over time. And his family and people close to him within his family scope convinced him otherwise. It did not disappoint me that he left. I shouldn't say that. It probably disappointed me, but I knew it was best for him. He needed to go.
Coach, guys like Devontae and Steve, and really everybody, they've accomplished all they can, minus that last weekend in March, your first weekend in April, and you even mentioned that late night kind of knocking down the door. This year with this team, how do you do that, and really how difficult is it?
Well, I think it's I think everything is hard. It's hard to win the league, but that's something that we've been pretty good at. And then it's hard to get to the Final Four, because that's obviously we've lost in the first weekend before. There's no question. But in recent memory, for the most part, other than a couple of years, we've had pretty good success getting to the weekend before the Final Four. And how do you play? Maybe what will take maybe the two best games of the season to get there. Last year, we played arguably as good a game as we played all year long against Purdue. And then we laid an egg against Oregon. And Oregon probably had one of, if you look at the game before against Michigan, Oregon didn't play great. They were lucky to get through that game. And they played their best game the second game. So I don't know the exact answer to at this juncture to say how we can do that. But I think we'll have the toughness and the mindset. And if we're put in that position to be in that game again, I think that if we're not successful, it won't be because we weren't tough enough, we weren't prepared to be there. Maybe it's just because the other team was better. And unfortunately in athletics, both teams try really hard, and you get to that 8 game, everybody in that 8 game is probably capable of winning the national championship. And so you better be your best that day, and we obviously haven't been the last 2 years.
Billy, you talked at late night, 70% you want to try to play big. How do you see that working out with 3 big men, or is that an optimistic?
That was before we really started practicing, so I think that number's gone down a little bit to about 50. But I do think we got to play big at least 20 minutes a game, at least. And there's going to be, you look at it over time. Teams can play small. We can play small, all these things. But you look at the finals last year, maybe the 2 biggest teams in America were Gonzaga and North Carolina. I mean, you got to be able to, control the paint and get easy baskets, and you're shooting in domes, and you may not shoot as good as 3-point percent. There's a lot of factors that go on that there's such an advantage to have multiple bigs, and we need to get to the point where we can play 6'10", and if we're able to do that for 50 or 70% of the game, I think our chances will elevate quite a bit on us being a great team by February.
When you can't, though, how much of an advantage it is, or is it for your guys this year to know going small worked last year?
Yeah, I think that could be a little bit of advantage, but you also got to look at, hey, we had, we say we played small last year, but we had a 6'8" guard that could rebound and block shots and defend. And he wasn't a normal guy. So you're looking at this year, if you play small, you're playing small because you're going to play 4 guards, where Josh was, he was a guard, but he could do anything. And he was a matchup nightmare for others. So how would we defend the post if we did that? That's the question. But the reality of it is, how do they match up with us on the other end too? So, I think last year does give us confidence that we can play small and play a little faster.
What about the league itself? I saw the preseason team come out yesterday, and there wasn't a whole lot of household names, except for your guy and Javon Carter.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about where the Big 12 is? We're not a lot of big names, but is it a league that can be what it was last year?
You know what? I would say on paper we lost a lot. But you know what? I think we said on paper we lost a lot the year before. You're losing George, you're losing Perry, you're losing all these veteran guys, and it seems somehow the league just always seems to replenish and replace those guys. And so I would say that I would be totally shocked if our league isn't as competitive as what it has been in recent memory. But I don't really know who the best teams are. I don't know how good we'll be yet. People can say, well, Kansas has got this and got that. Well, yeah, we did, but you can't tell me you lose the number 4 pick and the number in the National Player of the Year and automatically you got better. That's not how it works. I remember when we took the job here, Kansas math amazed me. You lose Collison, you lose Heinrich, but we're supposed to win it all the next year. Because that's the mindset. But I also think that's positive too, because the mindset with these players are that we're going to miss those guys, but somebody's going to step up and do it. And I think every team in the league has that. I don't know on paper who would be right there, but I think West Virginia obviously is always going to be good as long as Hugs is there, and they obviously have some terrific guards coming back and guys inside. You look at Oklahoma would be one of the most improved teams. I think Texas would be terrific. But to me, they're not a sleeper. To me, and I'm not leaving out anybody because I totally respect everybody. But I think every coach in the league would say, well, TCU returns 5 starters and 2 recruits that probably start. You would say, well, they could be the team to beat in our league. So it'll be competitive. I don't know that we're as top heavy as what we have been, maybe, but I know there's no bottom heavy teams.
Coach, what are the challenges? How's Leggero done so far in practice, and will he be the one that kind of, when you do go small, plays that?
Yeah, he'll have to. Leggero's been great, but we got to convince Leggero that when we go small, he's got to be more than a guard. But I think Marcus Garrett can also do that too. I think Leggero and Marcus Garrett would be the 2 guys that's tough enough that can probably defend a 4-man, in those situations. But Leggero's been really good so far.
Got a couple minutes.
What are the challenges that Devontae is facing this year in terms of kind of becoming the face of the team after such strong leadership under Frank? So you guys have enjoyed Frank's such a unique personality. Does he just need to be his own man this year, or what are the challenges he's facing?
I think Devontae's been his own man since he's been here. for the most part. I think last year he deferred because it was best for our team to put the ball in Frank's hands more. But he won't defer to anybody this year. This is his squad. This is his team, more so than anybody else. And Svi and him, Svi's been terrific so far. But Devontae, to me, from a vocal standpoint and by example, I mean, he's gonna have a lot of fun this year. And if he has a lot of fun, then obviously he'll be a great leader for us because he's got personality like very few that we've ever had here.
And Coach, in terms of gating players, decision expected tonight from Dotson. A lot of people have a good feeling about that. With Quentin Grimes back in town, what is your reaction so far to the progress you're making with this recruiting class in comparison to years past?
Yeah, I can't talk about specifics, but I think we're off to a decent start, above average start with a chance maybe to close strong. So we need to have a good class because obviously there's a lot of potential out there for us to lose guys after this year.
Coach, how much is Billy Preston's versatility, and do you see him really playing much small ball 5 this year?
Yeah, I do. Well, he'll have to. If Doak's in, Doak fouls, and if Doak's not in the game, so let's say Doak does an unbelievable job of staying out of foul trouble and gets in great shape, so he's able to play, between 25 and 30 minutes a game. Well, that still leaves 10 to 15 minutes a game. Somebody else is going to have to defend the 5. So, Billy, that would be real small ball, but that's certainly something that would have to happen. So,
All right, Coach.
All right, guys. Thank you. Appreciate you.